The story of the British Empire begins with a small island nation that, through ambition, strategy, and determination, grew to dominate vast parts of the globe. Its journey started in the 16th century, an era famously known as the Age of Exploration. During this time, countries like Spain and Portugal were already expanding overseas, building colonies and controlling global trade routes. England, watching its rivals gain immense wealth and power, did not want to be left behind. England's advantage came from its geographical position and its increasing focus on building a strong navy. The seas became its battlefield as well as its opportunity. Through exploration and overseas ventures, England gradually established its presence across oceans. What began as small trading expeditions slowly developed into settlements and colonies. The foundation of the empire was not built overnight. It was a combination of exploration, naval victories, trading companies, and colonization. Unlike many powers, England relied heavily on trade to strengthen its influence. From North America to the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia, its reach steadily expanded. By securing territories and building a vast maritime network, England laid the groundwork for a future empire that would one day become the largest the world had ever seen. In 1497, the foundations of what would one day become the vast British Empire were quietly laid by an Italian explorer sailing under the English crown. His name was John Cabot, originally Giovanni Caboto, and he had been commissioned by King Henry VII of England to find a westward route across the Atlantic in hopes of reaching Asia's riches. Instead, Cabot's small ship, the Matthew, reached the eastern coast of North America, most likely the region of modern-day Newfoundland, Canada. This was a moment of extraordinary significance. While Cabot did not establish a permanent settlement, his voyage gave England its very first claim to land in the New World. At the time, Spain and Portugal were dominating global exploration, dividing vast territories through the Treaty of Tordesillas. England was still a minor power, with little naval tradition compared to its rivals. Cabot's discovery therefore offered not just new fishing grounds, but also a vision of untapped lands across the Atlantic. The fertile coasts, rich with cod, provided valuable resources that encouraged English fishermen and merchants to return. More importantly, this event planted the seeds of English colonization, an idea that would, in the coming centuries, transform England from a regional kingdom into a world-spanning empire. Though Cabot himself disappeared on his second voyage in 1498, his journey symbolized England's first step into overseas exploration. It marked the beginning of an ambition that would grow relentlessly, pushing the nation to seek trade, territory, and influence far beyond its island shores. In 1588, one of the most defining moments in English and later British history took place, the defeat of the Spanish Armada. At the time, Spain was the world's leading superpower, controlling vast colonies in the Americas and commanding enormous wealth from trade and conquest. England, under the rule of Queen Elizabeth I, was still a comparatively small kingdom, but tensions with Spain had been escalating due to religious rivalry, Protestant England versus Catholic Spain, and England's interference with Spanish treasure ships through privateers like Sir Francis Drake. To crush England and restore Catholic dominance, King Philip II of Spain launched an enormous fleet known as the Armada. The Spanish Armada consisted of over 130 heavily armed ships, one of the most powerful naval forces ever assembled. In contrast, England's fleet was smaller, but it was more agile and led by experienced commanders such as Sir Francis Drake and Lord Charles Howard. Using innovative tactics, including fire ships to scatter the Spanish formation and relentless harrying of their supply lines, the English Navy inflicted severe damage. Coupled with violent storms in the North Sea, the Armada was forced into retreat, suffering devastating losses. This victory was more than just a military triumph. It marked the rise of England as a formidable naval power. The defeat shattered Spain's aura of invincibility and gave England the confidence to expand overseas. From this point onward, control of the seas would become the backbone of the British Empire, allowing it to trade, colonize, and defend its growing territories. The year 1588 became a symbol of national pride and the first major step in England's journey toward global dominance. In 1600, during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, one of the most influential organizations in world history was born, the East India Company. Through a royal charter granted on 31st December 1600, a group of English merchants were given exclusive rights to trade with the East Indies, primarily aiming at the rich markets of spices, silk, cotton, tea, and other exotic goods from Asia. At the time, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands were already dominating global trade. England needed its own powerful institution to compete, and the East India Company became that tool. Initially, the company was just a commercial venture, sending ships to India, Southeast Asia, and later China. But soon it evolved into something far more significant. Its ships carried not just goods, but also military power, and its officials began negotiating treaties with local rulers. By establishing trading posts, or factories, in places like Surat, 1612, and later Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta, the company gained a foothold in the Indian subcontinent. Over time, this trading corporation turned into a political and military force, commanding its own private armies and influencing regional politics. The founding of the East India Company laid the foundation for nearly 2 centuries of British involvement in India. What started as trade gradually transformed into territorial control, taxation, and governance. By the 18th century, the company was no longer just a trader, but the de facto ruler of vast parts of India, paving the way for the establishment of the British Raj. Thus, the events of 1600 marked the beginning of a chapter that would shape not only Britain's empire, but also the future of millions in Asia.